You're staring at the screen again. Same charts, same indicators, same sinking feeling in your chest. Another loss. Not catastrophic, not dramatic, just disappointing. You replay the trade in your head. You saw it, the setup was clean, the logic made sense, and yet your account is smaller. Again. You don't feel stupid. That's the worst part. You feel confused. Because everywhere else in your life, intelligence worked. School rewarded it. Work rewarded it. Problem solving rewarded it. So why does the market treat your intelligence like a liability? Why do the smartest traders you know struggle the most? Why do the most confident explanations come from people with the worst equity curves? And why does it feel like the harder you think, the worse the results get? Let's stop pretending. If you're watching this, you already know the pattern. You overanalyze entries. You hesitate on execution. You move stops just a little. You add logic after the trade starts losing. You don't break rules loudly. You break them quietly, rationally. You don't revenge trade like an amateur. You adjust exposure. You reassess the thesis. You optimize in real time. That's what makes this dangerous, because it feels intelligent. But intelligence is exactly what's sabotaging you. This is the mirror most traders avoid. Your problem isn't discipline. It isn't motivation. It isn't strategy. It's that your brain is doing exactly what it evolved to do. And that job description is incompatible with trading. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The market is not a puzzle to be solved. It is a probability engine to be survived. Smart people hate that because probability offers no closure, no certainty, no final answer, just distributions, variance, unfair sequences. And that's intolerable to a mind trained to seek patterns, explanations, and meaning. Your brain wants to understand the loss. The market wants you to absorb it. Those goals conflict. This is where the biological trap begins. Human intelligence evolved for environments with immediate feedback. You touch fire, you get burned. Lesson learned. You make a good decision, you usually get rewarded. Trading violates this completely. Here, good decisions can lose money. Bad decisions can make money. That breaks your learning system. So your brain does what it always does when feedback is confusing. It overcorrects. It starts searching for causality where none exists. This loss means something. This win confirms something. This market has changed. I need to adapt. No, you don't. You need to endure variance. But intelligence hates endurance without explanation. So instead of letting expected value work, you interfere. You tweak after losses. You double down after wins. You abandon systems mid-drawdown. Not emotionally, logically. You justify every deviation with a smart-sounding reason. And every justification increases entropy. This is the asymmetry of loss in action. Loss hurts more than gain feels good. Your intelligence doesn't remove that pain. It amplifies it. Because now you're not just losing money, you're losing self-image. If I'm smart, why is this happening? So the mind tries to protect identity. It reframes losses as mistakes. It reframes mistakes as solvable problems. It reframes solvable problems as something you should fix now. That urgency kills expected value. Because expected value requires one thing above all else: time. Time without interference. Time without ego. Time without the need to be right today. Smart people struggle with this because they're used to being rewarded for intervention. In trading, intervention is usually sabotage. Think of a casino. The house edge is small, tiny. It only works because the casino never changes its rules mid-session. It doesn't panic after a bad night. It doesn't rethink probability because of variance. It lets math breathe. Now imagine a casino run by a very smart human. Every losing streak would trigger analysis. Every winning streak would trigger confidence. Rules would shift constantly. The edge would disappear. That's you. Your intelligence turns you into a casino that keeps redesigning itself. And then you wonder why nothing compounds. Let's talk about overconfidence. Smart people don't think they're reckless. They think they're right. They trust their judgment. They trust their read. They trust their intuition. But trading doesn't reward judgment. It rewards consistency of exposure. Your opinion of the market is irrelevant. Only your ability to execute the same risk profile across thousands of trades matters. That's not an intellectual challenge. It's a behavioral one. And behavior is governed by biology, not IQ. Your brain evolved to avoid pain and seek certainty. Trading demands that you accept pain and abandon certainty. Every time you analyze a loss instead of logging it and moving on, your biology wins. Every time you overwrite a stop because this one feels different, biology wins. Every time you hesitate on a valid setup because of the last loss, biology wins. This isn't weakness, it's design. Your nervous system is optimized for survival, not speculation. It treats drawdowns like danger, uncertainty like threat, randomness like chaos. So it tries to impose control through thinking, through adjusting, through intelligence. And the more intelligent you are, the more convincing the sabotage becomes. That's the trap. You're not failing because you lack knowledge. You're failing because you keep trying to use it. Trading punishes thinking during execution. Thinking belongs before the system is built, not while it's running. In part 2, we'll strip intelligence out of execution completely. Not metaphorically, mechanically. We'll build a structure that makes your intelligence irrelevant at the moment it does the most damage. At this stage, most people try to improve themselves. More discipline, more patience, more emotional control. That's the wrong direction. You don't fix biology, you bypass it. Professionals don't trade better because they feel less. They trade better because the system makes feelings irrelevant. This is where smart traders resist the most, because this is where intelligence loses status. The mechanical fix begins with a hard truth. Any decision you make during a live trade is already compromised. Not because you're weak, because the brain is chemically altered under risk. Cortisol, adrenaline, dopamine. These are not compatible with probabilistic thinking. You cannot outthink hormones. So the only solution is structural. You remove choice, just like casinos do. Casinos don't trust managers to decide payouts on the fly. They don't allow dealers to change odds mid-game. They lock probabilities into machines. Why? Because humans are unreliable under variance. So the first rule of the mechanical fix is this. If a decision can be made in advance, it must be. Entry, stop, target, risk size, session limit. Nothing is decided live. Live trading is not decision-making time. It is execution time. This is where system over ego becomes non-negotiable. Your system is not a guideline. It is a constraint. And constraints are what intelligent people hate, because constraints feel like limitation. In reality, they are protection. Let's talk about risk. Smart traders love optimizing entries. Professionals obsess over risk because risk controls emotional amplitude. If your emotions spike during a trade, risk is too high. Always. Not sometimes, always. You don't train yourself to tolerate stress. You reduce stress to tolerable levels. That's mechanical. A fixed percentage risk, a fixed dollar risk, one that feels boring. Boredom is a feature. Excitement is a warning signal. Now, variance. Most traders understand variance intellectually. Almost none design for it. Designing for variance means expecting drawdowns in advance. not hoping they don't happen. So the system must survive losing streaks, flat periods, random clusters of losses. If your system requires emotional strength to survive these, it will fail. Emotions degrade under repetition. Structures don't. This is why trade limits exist. Daily loss limits, weekly loss limits, max trades per session. These are not for bad traders. They are for human traders. They prevent the spiral, because spirals don't start with rage. They start with rationalization. One more trade. This setup is clean. I'm still within rules. Mechanical limits end the conversation. Now, expected value. Expected value is not a motivational concept. It is an accounting one. If your edge is real, it only appears across volume. That means any single trade is irrelevant. And if a single trade feels important, something is wrong. The mechanical fix enforces irrelevance. Same position size every trade. Same risk profile every trade. No scaling because this one looks perfect. No cutting early because this one feels wrong. Feelings do not vote. The system votes. And this is where smart people struggle again. They want flexibility. Flexibility feels intelligent. But flexibility reintroduces ego. Ego wants to express skill. The system wants to express probability. You must choose which one survives. Think of a sniper. A sniper does not fire based on emotion. He waits for predefined conditions: wind, distance, angle. If the conditions aren't met, he doesn't negotiate. Trading is the same. Your system defines the shot. You don't improvise mid-breath. Now, journaling. Most traders journal emotionally. How did I feel? What did I learn? What could I improve? That's noise. Professional journaling is binary. Did I follow the system? Yes or no. That's it. Because outcomes lie. A winning trade can be bad execution. A losing trade can be perfect execution. Only one metric survives variance: compliance. This is how intelligence is redirected. Your intelligence belongs in system design, not execution. You analyze statistics, you backtest, you validate edges, then you lock it. Execution becomes boring, repetitive, unimpressive. That's intentional, because intelligence during execution is sabotage disguised as optimization. The mechanical fix does not make you feel confident. It makes you feel constrained. And constrained systems outperform emotional freedom every time. In Part 3, we'll confront the final enemy. Why who you think you are keeps you losing. By now, the system is clear. Rules are defined. Risk is fixed. Decisions are front-loaded. On paper, this should work. Yet most traders still sabotage it. Not immediately, not obviously, subtly, quietly. This is where the real battle begins. Because even when intelligence is removed from execution, identity sneaks in through the back door. You don't just trade setups, you trade self-image. Every trade becomes a statement about how sharp you are, how disciplined you are, how far along you are compared to others. And the market doesn't tolerate that. The moment your identity is attached to outcome, objectivity collapses. Let's make this uncomfortable. You don't want to make money. You want to be right. Money is just a scoreboard you use to keep track of that feeling. This is especially dangerous for smart people, because being right has always been your advantage. You were rewarded for it, in school, at work, in life. So when trading threatens that identity, your nervous system reacts like it's under attack. That's why losses feel personal, not financially, psychologically. A loss isn't just a loss. It's evidence. Evidence that maybe you're not as sharp as you think. Maybe you don't get it. Maybe you're behind. That threat activates defense mechanisms: justification, reframing, intervention. You don't break rules because you're reckless. You break them because you're protecting who you think you are. This is the identity trap, and it's lethal to expected value. Here's how it shows up. A valid trade loses. Instead of logging it and moving on, you analyze yourself. What did I miss? Why didn't this work? Maybe my read was off. Sometimes that's useful. Most times it's ego searching for control. Because accepting randomness feels like incompetence. So identity looks for meaning. But variance has no meaning. It just exists. And the more you fight that, the more damage you do. Now let's talk about confidence. Most traders confuse confidence with certainty. They want to feel sure. Sure about direction. Sure about timing. Sure about outcome. That's not confidence. That's dependency. Real confidence is indifference. It's the calm that comes from knowing the next trade doesn't matter, because the system doesn't depend on it. Smart people struggle with this, because indifference feels like underperformance, like you're not using your edge. But your edge is not your insight. Your edge is consistency of exposure. That's it. Your opinion is irrelevant. Only your ability to survive variance long enough for expected value to appear matters. This requires an identity shift. You must stop seeing yourself as a trader. Trader implies intuition, judgment, skill expression. Those feed ego. You must see yourself as an operator. An operator doesn't feel smart or stupid. He runs a process. If the output is negative, he checks compliance, not self-worth. This depersonalization is the hardest step because it feels empty. No highs, no validation, no hero moments, just repetition. And repetition threatens identity because identity wants progress now. Variance doesn't care. Variance will produce losing streaks, guaranteed. Clusters of losses that feel unfair. Runs where nothing works. If your identity needs reassurance, these periods will break you. You'll tweak, adjust, override. Not because the system failed, because your identity couldn't tolerate uncertainty. That's why most traders never stabilize. They don't give any system enough time to express its edge. They interrupt it, repeatedly. This is also why journaling must be ruthless, not emotional, not reflective, behavioral. Did you follow the system? Yes or no? That question is identity neutral. It doesn't ask if you were smart. It doesn't ask if you were unlucky. It asks if you did your job. Professionals measure themselves this way. Amateurs measure themselves by outcome. One survives variance, the other doesn't. Now the final illusion. I'm different. Every smart trader believes this. Different intuition, different risk tolerance, different insight. Different enough to bend rules. Probability destroys this belief slowly, because math doesn't care how unique you feel. Expected value only responds to repetition. You are not special to variance. You are not exempt from drawdowns. You are not owed wins. Accepting this feels like surrender. It isn't. It's freedom. Because once identity is removed from outcome, you stop fighting reality. You stop forcing trades to mean something. You let the system work. And your job becomes simple. Execute, record, repeat. In Part 4, we'll connect everything into a single operating philosophy. Not motivation, not inspiration. A cold framework that survives biology, ego, and time. Where probability replaces personality. At this stage, most viewers feel exposed, not motivated, not inspired, exposed. Because by now, the excuses are gone. The strategy isn't the problem. The market isn't the problem. The lack of discipline isn't even the problem. The problem is that you keep showing up as a person instead of a process. So Part 4 is where everything tightens. This is where trading stops being something you do and becomes something that runs. A real operating frame. Cold, predictable, unimpressed by your emotions. This is where probability finally gets room to work. Let's anchor this in reality. Most traders don't lose because they're wrong too often. They lose because they lose big when they're wrong and win small when they're right. That's the asymmetry of loss. Losses damage capital and psychology more than wins repair either.
So the operating frame must be designed around one priority: survive losses without reacting to them. Everything else is secondary. This is where smart people still sabotage themselves. They want to optimize performance, but optimization increases sensitivity. Sensitivity increases emotional amplitude, and emotional amplitude destroys consistency. So the professional frame does the opposite. It intentionally sacrifices short-term upside to stabilize long-term exposure. This is why boring systems compound. They don't rely on brilliance, they rely on restraint. Let's make this mechanical. The operating frame has 5 non-negotiables. 1. Fixed risk is sacred. Risk does not scale with confidence. It does not shrink with fear. It is fixed. Why? Because variable risk turns emotions into leverage. The moment you increase size because you feel aligned, ego has entered the system. The moment you reduce size because you don't trust it, fear has entered the system. Both corrupt expected value. Fixed risk keeps outcomes statistically honest. If a trade matters emotionally, risk is too high. Always. 2. Frequency is limited. More trades do not mean more opportunity. They mean more exposure to error. The operating frame caps trades per session, not because opportunities disappear, but because decision quality degrades. This prevents overtrading disguised as diligence. Professionals don't ask, "How much can I make today?" They ask, "How many times can I execute cleanly?" That's a completely different question. 3. Drawdowns are pre-approved. This is where most traders fail silently. They know drawdowns will happen, but they don't accept them. So when they arrive, panic feels justified. The operating frame pre-approves pain, a maximum daily loss, a maximum weekly loss. Hit it, and you stop. Not to cool off, but to preserve statistical integrity. Because trading while emotional distorts data. You can't evaluate a system if you keep interfering with it. 4. Execution is binary. This is the most brutal role. There is no almost followed the system. There is no partial credit. Did you follow the rules? Yes or no. That's it. Because binary rules remove negotiation. Negotiation is where ego lives. Binary rules starve it. This is why professional journaling feels cold. It doesn't care how you felt. It doesn't care what you thought. It records behavior. Behavior is the only thing you can control. 5. Expected value is the only scoreboard. Daily P&L is noise. Weekly P&L is misleading. Expected value over large samples is the truth. This forces patience, and patience is not passive. It is aggressively defended through structure. You defend patience by ending sessions early, by refusing to chase, by letting flat days exist. Smart people hate flat days. Flat days feel like wasted intelligence. Professionals understand them as preserved capital and clean data. Now here's where everything clicks. Once this frame is in place, something strange happens. You stop feeling like you're trading. You feel like you're monitoring. Monitoring compliance, monitoring risk, monitoring behavior. The market becomes background noise, and that's exactly where it belongs. Because the more important the market feels, the more likely you are to interfere. Interference is the enemy of probability. Think about a lion. A lion doesn't chase every movement. It waits. Not because it's lazy, because energy matters. The lion survives by selecting moments, not reacting. Most traders act like anxious prey, always alert, always adjusting, always burning energy. The operating frame turns you into the predator. Calm, selective, unimpressed. Now let's talk about boredom. Boredom is not a problem, it's confirmation. If trading feels exciting, something is wrong. Excitement means uncertainty. Uncertainty means risk is unmanaged. Professional trading feels dull. Click, log, done. That dullness is where compounding lives, because compounding doesn't require emotion, it requires time. And time only survives when behavior is stable. This is why most traders never make it. Not because trading is impossible, but because it requires emotional austerity in a world addicted to stimulation. Everyone wants intensity, few want consistency. The operating frame filters people out. It forces humility, and humility is what allows expected value to function uninterrupted. In Part 5, we'll lock this into a single philosophy. Not rules, not tactics, a way of thinking that survives years, not weeks.
The philosophy that survives you. By now, there's nothing left to add. No new indicator, no deeper insight, no smarter framework. What remains is a philosophy. Not motivation, not discipline. A way of operating that holds when motivation disappears and discipline collapses. This is the final filter. Because most people understand everything you've heard so far. Very few live it. The philosophy is this: aggressive consistency beats aggressive intelligence. Not once, not sometimes, always. The market does not reward flashes of brilliance. It rewards survival through repetition. Smart people secretly believe the breakthrough moment is coming, the trade that fixes everything, the realization that finally unlocks consistency, the week where it all clicks. That belief is poison, because it makes you impatient with process, and impatience destroys expected value. A professional needs nothing from the next trade. Nothing. No validation, no relief, no excitement. The next trade is just one data point in a sequence that matters more than today. This is the final rewiring. You stop trading to win. You trade to execute. Winning becomes a byproduct. Execution becomes the goal. That shift sounds subtle. It isn't. When you trade to win, every outcome carries emotional weight. When you trade to execute, outcomes lose power, and power is what emotions feed on. Aggressive consistency means one thing above all else. You show up the same way regardless of outcome. Up days, down days, flat days. Same size, same rules, same indifference. No celebration after wins. No self-criticism after losses. Emotion is treated as data, not instruction. If emotion spikes, it signals one thing only. Risk is too high. Always. That rule never changes. Now, let's compress everything into one operating loop. You accept the asymmetry of loss. You accept that losses hurt more than wins feel good. So you designed risks small enough that pain never forces action. You don't get used to losses. You make them operationally irrelevant. You accept variance not as a concept, but as a schedule. Losing streaks are not surprises. They are appointments, pre-approved, expected, survivable. You stop reacting to them. You anchor everything to expected value, not daily profit, not weekly performance. Expected value across large samples. That forces patience, and patience is not passive. It is aggressively defended. You defend patience by cutting sessions short, by refusing to trade marginal setups, by letting boredom exist. Boredom is not failure. Boredom is stability. Stability is what allows time. Time is what allows compounding. This is system over ego in its final form. Your opinions do not matter. Your feelings do not matter. Your confidence does not matter. Only behavior matters. And behavior is binary. Did you follow the system? Yes or no? That question survives everything. It survives losses. It survives wins. It survives variance. That's why professionals love it. It removes negotiation. Negotiation is where ego lives. Now, here's the part most people reject. This philosophy feels empty. There are no highs, no hero moments, no emotional payoff, just repetition. And repetition threatens identity, because identity wants progress now. It wants proof. It wants reassurance. Aggressive consistency offers none. It asks you to abandon stimulation in exchange for longevity. That trade filters people out. Most traders don't fail because they lack skill. They fail because they cannot tolerate delayed reward without emotional drama. They need the market to feel like something.
Professionals don't. Professionals want the market to feel boring, because boring is predictable. Predictable behavior is what probability feeds on. While others chase excitement, you protect structure. While others reset accounts, you protect time. While others seek validation, you protect process. Time is the asset most traders never earn. They burn it chasing shortcuts. They sacrifice it to impatience. But time is where expected value lives. Time is what turns small edges into overwhelming advantage. This is the boring path to wealth. No screenshots, no hype, no promises. Just controlled exposure applied repeatedly, over weeks, over months, over years. This philosophy does not care how you feel today. It runs anyway. That's the point. You stop asking, "How am I doing?" and start asking, "Did I execute?" That shift is permanent, because once execution is the only metric, you stop fighting the market. You stop arguing with outcomes. You let probability work. Most people will hear this and agree, then change nothing. Because aggressive consistency feels like giving up control. It isn't. It's the only real control available. Control of exposure, control of behavior, control of time. Everything else is illusion. If this philosophy makes you uncomfortable, good. That discomfort is ego realizing it is no longer needed. And if you actually apply this, not admire it, not quote it, but live it, you will stop feeling like a trader. You will feel like an operator, a custodian of risk, a caretaker of process, a manager of probability. That is how professionals are built. Not in moments of inspiration, but in thousands of identical executions that feel forgettable at the time. Until one day, the equity curve tells a story your emotions never could. And by then, you won't feel proud. You'll feel calm. That's how you'll know it worked.